Consistency is the single most powerful force in your life. It is not talent, not luck, not even intelligence that determines success. It is the simple ability to show up again and again, even when you don't feel like it, even when no one is watching, even when the results seem far away. Consistency builds habits, habits create progress, and progress leads to mastery. If you want to change your life, you must force yourself to be consistent. Think about this. Almost everyone starts with excitement. People begin a new workout routine, they start a new project, or they make a promise to themselves. But after a few days, or maybe a few weeks, the excitement fades. The majority quit. That's why the world is full of unfinished goals, broken promises, and wasted potential. But those who learn to push past that first wave of resistance, those who force themselves to continue even when it's not easy, those are the ones who achieve greatness. This audiobook will show you why consistency matters more than motivation, how to train your mind, to stick with your habits, and how to keep going when your emotions try to stop you. By the end, you will understand that discipline is not a punishment, it is freedom. Freedom from regret, freedom from failure, and freedom from living a life below your potential. Before we begin, make sure you follow and subscribe so you don't miss the rest of this audiobook. Your journey to unstoppable consistency starts right here, right now. Chapter 1. Why consistency beats motivation. When most people think about success, they imagine moments of inspiration, sudden bursts of motivation, or rare strokes of genius. But in reality, success does not come from occasional effort. It comes from the small things you do every single day. Consistency, not motivation, is the true engine of progress. Motivation is a spark, but consistency is the fuel that keeps the fire alive. Motivation feels good in the beginning. It gives you energy and excitement to start something new, but the problem with motivation is that it fades quickly. Think about the times you started a new goal. Maybe it was going to the gym, reading books, or learning a new skill. At the start, you felt unstoppable. But after a week or two, the excitement disappeared. The same routine began to feel boring. The results were not instant. Suddenly, the thing that once felt exciting started to feel heavy, and slowly, you stopped showing up. That is the trap of relying on motivation. It is unreliable. It is temporary. It cannot carry you to your goals. Consistency, on the other hand, is not about how you feel in the moment. It is about building a system, a routine, and a promise to yourself. When you are consistent, you show up whether you feel like it or not. You go to the gym even on days when you are tired. You study even when your mind wants to rest. You practice your skills even when progress feels slow. That steady repetition is what builds mastery. It is not glamorous, and it is not exciting most of the time. But it works because consistency compounds over time. Think about water dripping on a stone. 1 drop does nothing. 10 drops do nothing. But 1,000 drops, 1,000,000 drops, over time, create a hole in the rock. That is the power of consistency. Each small action may feel meaningless, but repeated daily, it reshapes your life. Motivation cannot do this, because it comes and goes like the weather. Consistency is the steady force that shapes results. Consistency also builds trust with yourself. Every time you keep a promise to show up, even in small ways, you prove to your mind that you can be relied upon. Over time, this builds confidence and self-respect. On the other hand, when you quit after the excitement fades, you teach your mind that your promises cannot be trusted. Consistency is not just about achieving goals, it is about becoming the kind of person who can be counted on. It is easy to underestimate small actions. People often think they need to make big changes to transform their lives, but big changes rarely last, because they require big amounts of motivation. Small, consistent actions, however, require less energy and are easier to sustain. Reading 10 pages a day may not seem like much, but over a year it is thousands of pages, enough to finish dozens of books. Doing a short workout every day may not look impressive, but over months it builds strength, discipline, and health. The results come slowly at first, but then they accelerate. Consistency also frees you from relying on emotions. When you make a habit of showing up, you no longer need wait for the perfect mood or the right inspiration. You stop asking yourself whether you feel like it, because the answer no longer matters. You simply do the work. This is how athletes train every day, how writers finish books, how musicians master their instruments. They do not wait for motivation. They rely on consistency. Another reason consistency beats motivation is that it creates momentum. When you do something repeatedly, it becomes easier over time. The resistance you once felt fades. What used to feel like a heavy task becomes automatic. This is the power of habit. Habits are nothing more than consistency repeated until it becomes second nature. Motivation cannot create habits, but consistency can. People often admire discipline in others. They look at someone who wakes up early, eats healthy, works hard, and stays focused, and they think that person must have more motivation. But the truth is, those people are not more motivated. They are more consistent. They have built systems and routines that allow them to act regardless of how they feel. Their secret is not inspiration, it is repetition. Consistency also creates compounding returns. Just like money invested grows with interest, effort invested daily multiplies over time. The person who practices for 1 hour each day becomes skilled far beyond the person who practices only when they feel inspired. The difference may not be visible in a week or even a month, but over years the gap becomes massive. The consistent learner becomes a master, while the inconsistent one remains average. There will be days when you do not want to continue. That is guaranteed. But those are the days that matter most. Anyone can act when they feel good. True growth happens when you act even when you feel bad. Forcing yourself to be consistent in those difficult moments is what separates success from failure. Motivation is like a sparkler. It burns bright, but quickly fades. Consistency is like the sun. It rises every day without fail. If you want to build a life of success, do not chase motivation. Build consistency. Show up daily, no matter what. Over time, the results will speak louder than any burst of inspiration ever could. Chapter 2: Building Discipline over Motivation. Discipline and motivation may sound similar, but they are very different. Motivation is a feeling. Discipline is a choice. Motivation makes you start, but discipline makes you continue. If you want to be consistent, you cannot depend on how you feel. You must learn to build discipline, because discipline is the foundation that keeps your actions steady when emotions rise and fall. Think about the times you were motivated. Maybe you saw an inspiring video, read a powerful book, or listened to someone's success story. For a few hours or even a few days, you felt unstoppable. You made plans, wrote goals, and imagined your future. But then, reality set in. You felt tired. You got distracted. The excitement faded. Motivation gave you a strong start, but it could not carry you across the finish line. This is why motivation alone is never enough. Discipline works differently. Discipline does not ask how you feel. It simply asks what needs to be done, and then it does it. Discipline is like a muscle. The more you practice it, the stronger it becomes. In the beginning, discipline feels difficult, almost like forcing yourself to do something against your will. But over time, it becomes easier because your brain begins to accept the new behavior as normal. Discipline eventually turns effort into habit, and habit makes consistency automatic. Let's take an example. Imagine you want to wake up early to exercise. On the first morning, you might feel motivated, and it is easy. But on the second or third morning, when your bed feels warm and your body feels tired, motivation disappears. That is the moment where discipline must step in. Discipline is the voice that says, "Get up anyway." You made a promise to yourself. Every time you listen to that voice and take action, you grow stronger. Over time, waking up early stops being a struggle and becomes a natural part of your life. Discipline also creates structure. Without discipline, your day is controlled by your moods, by distractions, or by other people's demands. But with discipline, you decide how your time is used. You stick to routines, follow through on commitments, and finish what you start. This structure allows you to make progress even when the world around you is chaotic. It is important to understand that discipline is not about being harsh on yourself. It is about being committed to your growth. Many people think discipline means punishment, but that is not true. Discipline is love for your future self. It is the ability to say, I will do what is necessary today, even if it is uncomfortable, because I want to live a better tomorrow. Discipline is freedom disguised as effort. Building discipline starts with small actions. You do not need to completely transform your life overnight. Instead, pick one habit and commit to it. Maybe it is reading for 15 minutes every day, drinking water first thing in the morning, or writing down your goals before bed. Each time you complete that small habit, you prove to yourself that you are capable of discipline. Slowly, you add more habits, and soon your day becomes filled with small, consistent victories. Discipline is also about removing excuses. Your mind will always try to convince you to take the easy way out. It will say, you can do it tomorrow. You worked hard yesterday. One day off won't matter. These are lies that destroy consistency. When you build discipline, you learn to silence that voice and act regardless of excuses. You stop negotiating with yourself, and you start executing. Another key part of discipline is accountability. When you hold yourself accountable, you no longer allow broken promises to pass unnoticed. Some people use journals, checklists, or tracking apps to measure progress. Others use accountability partners, friends, mentors, or communities that make sure they stay on track. Accountability strengthens discipline because it makes quitting harder and progress easier to see. Discipline is also strengthened by your environment. If your surroundings are filled with distractions, temptation, and negativity, your discipline will always be under attack. But if you create an environment that supports your habits, discipline becomes easier. For example, if you want to eat healthier, keep healthy food nearby and remove junk food from your house. If you want to study daily, keep your books ready and turn off notifications during your study time. Environment shapes behavior, and discipline thrives in the right environment. Discipline is not about perfection. No one is perfect. There will be days when you miss, when you fail, or when you break your routine. Discipline is about coming back quickly. The undisciplined person uses one failure as an excuse to quit. The disciplined person sees failure as a lesson, forgives themselves, and continues the next day. Consistency is built not from never failing, but from always returning. Many people admire disciplined individuals and think they are born different. But discipline is not something you are born with. It is something you build, choice by choice, day by day. Every time you do something hard instead of something easy, you are training discipline. Every time you choose progress over comfort, you are building discipline over months and years. These choices accumulate into a powerful force that shapes your character and your destiny. The most successful athletes, entrepreneurs, leaders, and creators are not the most motivated. They are the most disciplined. They do not always feel like working, training, or practicing, but they do it anyway. That is why they are ahead of everyone else. They have learned to act without waiting for motivation. They have trained their minds to obey discipline. Motivation will give you a start. Discipline will give you a future. If you want to force yourself to be consistent, stop chasing motivation and start building discipline. Make it your goal not to feel good all the time, but to act regardless of how you feel. That is the key to lasting success. Chapter 3: Creating routines that stick. Consistency becomes possible when your life is guided by routines. A routine is simply a set of actions you repeat every day until they become automatic. It is like a map that tells you where to go without you having to think too much. Without routines, you are forced to make constant decisions, and every decision uses energy. With routines, you save that energy because the decisions are already made in advance. This is why routines are so powerful for building consistency. When you wake up in the morning, the way you start your day sets the tone for everything that follows. Imagine 2 different mornings. In the first, you wake up late, check your phone, scroll through social media, and rush to get ready. In the second, you wake up on time, drink water, stretch or exercise, and take a few minutes to plan your day. Both mornings might take the same amount of time, but the energy they create is completely different. The first morning fills you with stress, while the second morning fills you with control. That is the power of routine. A routine does not have to be complicated. In fact, the simpler it is, the easier it will be to follow. Many people make the mistake of trying to design a perfect routine filled with dozens of habits. They wake up early, meditate, exercise, read, journal, practice a new skill, and do 10 other things all in the same morning. It sounds inspiring, but most people cannot keep up with such a heavy routine. Eventually, they get tired, skip one habit, feel guilty, and then quit altogether. Simplicity is the secret to a routine that lasts. Start with 1 or 2 small actions and build from there. For example, you might decide that every morning you will drink a glass of water and write down 3 goals for the day. Once that becomes easy, you add exercise. Later, you add reading. Slowly, your routine grows, but it grows in a way that feels natural, not forced. The key is to let your routine expand like a tree, slowly and steadily, rather than trying to build it all at once. Another important part of routines is timing. The human brain loves patterns. When you do the same action at the same time every day, your brain begins to expect it. This is why eating, sleeping, and working at regular times helps your body feel balanced. If you want your routines to stick, attach them to specific times of the day. Morning routines are powerful because they set the direction for your entire day. Evening routines are powerful because they prepare your body and mind for rest. Both create structure that strengthens consistency. But routines are not only about time. They are also about triggers. A trigger is something that reminds you to start your routine. For example, brushing your teeth might trigger the action of flossing. Making coffee might trigger the action of reading a few pages. Coming home might trigger the action of changing into workout clothes. When you connect new habits to existing actions, your routines become harder to forget. At the beginning, sticking to a routine feels like hard work. You will face resistance. Your mind will try to convince you to take a break, to do it later, or to change the plan. This is normal. The brain does not like change, but every time you repeat the action, the resistance becomes weaker. After a few weeks, the action feels less like effort and more like autopilot. This is the stage where routines become powerful. You no longer need to push yourself with willpower, because the habit takes over. Think about brushing your teeth. Almost no one needs motivation to brush their teeth. You do it without thinking because it is part of your routine. This is the level you want to reach with all important habits. Imagine if exercising, reading, or studying became as automatic as brushing your teeth. That is what routines can give you. Routines also protect you from decision fatigue. Decision fatigue is what happens when you spend too much energy deciding what to do. Each choice uses willpower, and by the end of the day, you feel too tired to make good choices. That is why many people eat junk food at night or skip exercise in the evening. Their willpower is simply drained. But if you have a routine, you do not need to decide. The decision is already made. This saves your energy for more important things and makes consistency much easier. Of course, life is not always predictable. Sometimes you travel, face emergencies, or experience unexpected changes. This is where many people abandon their routines completely. But the secret is flexibility. A routine does not mean you must do things at the exact same time, in the exact same way every day. It means you follow the same pattern most of the time, while allowing small adjustments when necessary. If you usually exercise in the morning but you are traveling, you might exercise in the evening instead. The point is not perfection, the point is persistence. It is also helpful to review your routines regularly. Every few weeks, ask yourself, is this routine working? Is it helping me stay consistent? Is it making my life better? Or is it adding unnecessary pressure? Sometimes you will realize that a habit is no longer useful, or that the timing needs to change. Adjust your routines as your life evolves. Growth requires flexibility, and flexibility keeps your routines alive. One mistake people often make is filling their routines with things they think they should do, rather than things that truly matter. A routine should not be a prison, it should be a foundation. When you design your routines, focus on habits that align with your goals and values. If you want to be healthy, prioritize exercise and nutrition. If you want to grow mentally, prioritize reading and reflection. If you want to succeed in your career, prioritize learning and focused work. Routines should serve your dreams, not the other way around. It is also important to enjoy your routines. Discipline is necessary, but joy makes discipline easier. If your routine feels like endless punishment, you will not stick with it for long. Add small things that make you happy. Maybe you listen to your favorite music while exercising. Maybe you drink your favorite tea while reading. Maybe you light a candle or play calming sounds during your evening routine. These little touches transform routines from tasks into rituals. Rituals are powerful because they give meaning and pleasure to repetition. Another secret to building routines that stick is starting small and finishing strong. Many people fail because they try to do too much at once. But when you start with something so small that it feels impossible to fail, you create momentum. For example, if you want to start journaling, begin by writing one sentence every night. Once that feels natural, expand it. Small wins lead to bigger wins. Over time, the small becomes the normal, and the normal becomes the extraordinary. Consistency is not about dramatic changes. It is about repeating small, simple actions every day until they add up to something great. Your routines are the engine that drives this process. When you build routines that stick, you no longer need to fight for consistency. Consistency becomes part of who you are. Imagine two people. One has no routine. They wake up at different times, eat whatever they find, work in random bursts, and spend hours on distractions. The other has routines. They wake up at the same time, follow a morning ritual, eat healthy meals, focus on important work, and relax in the evening with intention. 10 days later, the difference is small. 10 months later, the difference is obvious. 10 years later, the difference is life-changing. That is the power of routines. Consistency is not built on random actions. It is built on routines. If you want to force yourself to be consistent, design routines that fit your life. Keep them simple, connect them to triggers, and repeat them until they become automatic. Once routines take over, you no longer struggle with discipline every day. You live with structure, purpose, and clarity. And that is how consistency becomes effortless. Chapter 4. The role of discipline in consistency. Consistency and discipline are two sides of the same coin. Without discipline, there can be no consistency. Without consistency, discipline loses its purpose. Many people think discipline is about punishing yourself or living a joyless life. In reality, discipline is simply the ability to make decisions based on your goals instead of your emotions. It is the art of doing what needs to be done, even when you do not feel like it. Imagine two voices inside you. One voice is short-term and emotional. It says things like, "Stay in bed, "You are tired," or "Skip your workout today, you deserve a break," or "Eat that junk food. It will make you feel good right now." The other voice is long-term and logical. It says, "Wake up on time, you will thank yourself later," or "Go exercise, it will make you stronger," or "Eat healthy, your body needs it." Discipline is choosing to listen to the long-term voice over the short-term one. The challenge is that the emotional voice is louder. It speaks in the language of comfort and pleasure. The logical voice is quieter, asking you to delay gratification. Most people lose the battle because they follow the loud voice instead of the wise one. But if you want to be consistent, you must train yourself to recognize these two voices and choose the one that serves your future, not just your present. Discipline is not something you are born with. It is something you develop. Just like a muscle, it grows when you use it. The more often you make disciplined choices, the stronger your discipline becomes. At first it feels hard because you are not used to denying yourself comfort, but with time, discipline becomes natural. One day you look back and realize that things which once felt impossible are now part of your daily life. Think about students who wake up early to study every day. In the beginning, they struggle to stay awake, and they wish they could sleep longer. But after a few weeks, their body adapts. The discipline becomes routine, and the routine becomes their identity. That is how discipline transforms you. It takes effort at first, but it turns into something automatic with practice. There is a common misunderstanding that discipline means living without fun. People think that if you are disciplined, you cannot relax, enjoy food, or take time off. But real discipline is not about denial. It is about control. You are not removing joy from your life. You are simply choosing when and how to enjoy it. For example, instead of eating junk food every day, you save it for a special occasion. Instead of spending hours on social media whenever you feel bored, you allow yourself to relax after you finish your work. In this way, discipline does not take away happiness, it protects it. One of the best ways to build discipline is through small promises to yourself. Every time you set a small goal and keep it, you strengthen your self-respect. If you tell yourself, "I will wake up at 6 a.m. tomorrow," and you actually do it, you send a message to your brain, "I can trust myself." If you say, "I will write for 30 minutes today," and you complete it, your confidence grows. Each small promise is like a brick. Over time, you build a wall of discipline. The opposite is also true. When you constantly break promises to yourself, you weaken your discipline. You send the message, "I cannot trust myself." This creates guilt, shame, and doubt. Many people fall into this trap. They set big goals, fail to keep them, feel bad, and then stop trying altogether. The secret is to start small. Keep your promises, even if they are tiny. Build discipline brick by brick, until it becomes unshakable. Discipline is also about understanding triggers. Often, people fail not because they lack willpower, but because they are surrounded by temptations. If you are trying to eat healthy but your kitchen is full of cookies and chips, discipline becomes much harder. If you want to study but your phone is buzzing with notifications, it is almost impossible to focus. One way to make discipline easier is to remove temptations from your environment. Do not fight battles you do not need to fight. Make the disciplined choice the easiest choice. But there will still be moments when you must push yourself. This is where the real test of discipline comes. It is in those moments when you are tired, when you feel unmotivated, when you want to quit, that discipline proves itself. Motivation might start you, but discipline keeps you moving. Imagine running a marathon. The first few miles feel exciting, but at some point your legs burn and your mind screams at you to stop. That is where discipline takes over. The ability to keep moving, step by step, even when everything inside you says stop, is the true meaning of discipline. Consistency is impossible without this level of discipline. Life will test you. There will be days when you feel strong and days when you feel weak. If you rely only on motivation, you will fail, because motivation rises and falls like the weather. But discipline is stable. Discipline is the anchor that holds you steady through storms. It is the foundation on which consistency is built. Some people ask, how do I force myself to be disciplined if I always give in? The answer is practice. Start with small, non-negotiable actions. For example, make your bed every morning. It takes only 2 minutes, but it trains your brain to complete a task without excuse, or commit to drinking water instead of soda with 1 meal a day. These tiny acts may not seem powerful, but they are seeds. Each seed of discipline grows into a habit, and each habit grows into consistency. Another powerful strategy is visualization. Before you face a challenge, imagine yourself succeeding. If you know you will feel lazy in the morning, visualize yourself waking up, putting on your shoes, and going for a run. The brain cannot fully tell the difference between imagination and reality. Visualization prepares your mind to act with discipline when the moment arrives. You must also redefine failure. Many people quit because they think failure means the end. But failure is simply feedback. If you fail to stay disciplined one day, do not give up. Ask yourself, why did I fail? What triggered me? How can I adjust my environment, my mindset, or my actions so I do not fail again? Discipline is not about being perfect every day. It is about standing back up every time you fall. Over time, discipline changes your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who struggles, and you start seeing yourself as someone who follows through. This shift in identity is powerful. When you identify as a disciplined person, consistency becomes natural. You no longer have to force yourself every day. You act in line with who you believe you are. Let me give you an example. Imagine 2 people trying to quit smoking. The first person says, I am trying to quit. The second person says, I do not smoke. The first sees discipline as a temporary effort. The second has made discipline part of their identity. Which one do you think will succeed? The answer is clear. Discipline is strongest when it becomes part of who you are, not just something you try to do. The role of discipline in consistency is simple but powerful. Discipline is the bridge between intention and action. Without it, your goals remain dreams. With it, your dreams become reality. Discipline is not your enemy. It is your ally. It is not punishment. It is freedom. The freedom to live the life you want instead of the life dictated by impulse. So when you think about consistency, remember this truth. Discipline is the root. Every act of discipline strengthens your consistency, and every day of consistency strengthens your discipline. Together they build the foundation for success. Chapter 5. Small steps lead to big changes. When people think about consistency, they often imagine huge efforts. They believe they need to make dramatic changes overnight. They picture themselves going from lazy to hard-working in a single day, but this thinking is one of the main reasons people fail. Consistency is not built by giant leaps. It is built by small steps, repeated every day. Think of a mountain. From far away, it looks impossible to climb. It looks massive, almost untouchable. But when a climber begins the journey, they do not leap to the top. They take one step, then another, then another. Each small step may not seem important, but together they bring the climber to the peak. Life works in the same way. Success comes not from one big effort, but from thousands of small steps. The mistake many people make is underestimating the power of small actions. They believe that if something is not big, it does not matter. For example, they think reading 10 pages of a book is too little to make a difference. They think saving $5 a day is not enough to build wealth. They think exercising for 15 minutes cannot change their body. But this thinking is wrong. Small steps add up. Over time, they create results bigger than you can imagine. Consider reading. If you read 10 pages a day, it might feel small, But in a year, that is more than 3,000 pages. That is 10 to 15 books. Think about how much knowledge you could gain from just 10 minutes a day. The same is true with saving money. $5 a day may not feel powerful, but in a year, that is over $1,800. Add interest, and the number grows even more. Small actions multiplied by time create massive results. Small steps are powerful because they are sustainable. Anyone can work hard for one day, but very few people can sustain huge efforts for months or years. When you choose small steps, you reduce resistance. It becomes easier to stay consistent. Imagine someone who decides to run 5 miles every day without training. After a week, they are exhausted and want to quit. But if they start with half a mile and slowly increase, they build strength and consistency. By the end of the year, they can run long distances without burning out. Small steps protect you from quitting too soon. Another benefit of small steps is momentum. When you complete a small task, you feel successful. That success gives you energy to do more. For example, making your bed in the morning might feel unimportant, but when you do it, you start the day with a win. That small win creates momentum for bigger tasks. This is how small steps build energy. Each small victory pushes you forward, making the next step easier. Small steps also help you overcome fear. Big goals can feel intimidating. They can make you feel overwhelmed and powerless. But when you break a big goal into small steps, it feels manageable. For example, if you want to write a book, the thought of writing hundreds of pages can feel impossible. But if you commit to writing just 1 page a day, the fear disappears. Over a year, 1 page a day becomes a full book. This is the power of breaking big challenges into small, consistent actions. The truth is, small steps are the only way real change happens. Think about habits. Habits are small actions repeated so often that they become automatic. Brushing your teeth, tying your shoes, drinking water, all are habits built from small steps. The same process works for building new habits. You do not suddenly become disciplined overnight. You practice small disciplined actions until they become part of who you are. One common excuse people use is that small steps are too slow. They want fast results. They want transformation in weeks, not years. But this mindset is dangerous. Quick fixes rarely last. People who lose weight quickly by starving themselves often gain it back. People who chase shortcuts in business often fail. But people who respect the process of small, steady growth succeed in the long run. Small steps may feel slow, but they are permanent. They build foundations that last forever. Here is an example. Imagine 2 people who want to learn a language. The first studies for 8 hours in 1 weekend, then quits for a month. The second studies for 20 minutes every day. After a year, the first person has made very little progress. The second has studied over 120 hours, built a routine, and speaks with confidence. Who is more consistent? Who is more successful? The answer is clear. Consistency beats intensity when intensity is not sustainable. The beauty of small steps is that they compound. Compounding means small actions multiply over time, creating results far greater than the sum of the parts. Think about a seed. At first it looks small and weak, but when you water it every day, it grows into a tree. Each drop of water seems tiny, but together they create something powerful. Your habits are the same. Each small action may feel insignificant, but together they transform your life. Small steps also protect you from procrastination. When a task feels too big, people avoid it. They say, "I'll start tomorrow." Tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes never. But when you break a task into small steps, it becomes easy to start. If you want to clean your house, do not think about cleaning everything. Just start with 1 drawer. If you want to exercise, do not think about an hour at the gym. Just start with 5 push-ups. Once you start, momentum carries you forward. The challenge is to stay patient. Small steps require faith. You must believe that your actions matter, even when results are not immediate. This is where many people fail. They plant seeds, water them for a week, and then give up because they do not see a tree. But success takes time. Consistency is about trusting the process. You keep watering the seed because you know growth is happening, even if you cannot see it yet. One of the greatest examples of small steps is learning to walk. When you were a baby, you fell hundreds of times. Each fall was a small step towards success. You did not give up because the progress was slow. You kept trying, and eventually walking became natural. That same process applies to every area of life. Small steps, repeated over time, turn the impossible into the inevitable. If you want to force yourself to be consistent, focus on small steps. Do not wait for the perfect plan or the perfect day. Start with what you have, where you are, right now. Make your goals small enough to start and big enough to matter. Then repeat them daily. Over time, small steps will build habits. Habits will build consistency. Consistency will build success. Remember this truth. It is not the big leaps that change your life. It is the small steps you take every single day. When you respect small steps, you unlock the power of consistency. And when you are consistent, no goal is beyond your reach. Chapter 6. Discipline beats motivation. Every time, most people wait for motivation. They wait to feel inspired before they act. They tell themselves, I will start when I feel ready. I will begin when I feel motivated. But here is the truth. Motivation is not reliable. Motivation is like the weather. It changes every day. Some days you feel strong. Some days you feel tired. Some days you feel excited. Other days you feel hopeless. If you depend on motivation, you will never stay consistent. Motivation is a feeling. Feelings rise and fall. Discipline, on the other hand, is a decision. Discipline means you act whether you feel like it or not. This is the key difference. Motivation makes you start. Discipline keeps you going. If you want to force yourself to be consistent, you must stop depending on motivation and start depending on discipline. Think about brushing your teeth. Do you wait for motivation to brush your teeth every morning? No. You do it because it is a discipline, a habit. It is part of your daily life. You may not feel excited about it, but you do it anyway. That is what consistency looks like. When you build discipline, your actions no longer depend on how you feel in the moment. They become automatic. Motivation often gives you a burst of energy, but it fades quickly. Imagine someone who gets motivated to lose weight. They watch a video, they feel inspired, they join the gym, and for the first week they go every day, but soon the motivation wears off. Life gets busy, they feel tired, they skip one day, then another, and eventually they stop going altogether. This is the trap of motivation. It is temporary. Now imagine another person who builds discipline instead. They commit to exercising 3 times a week, no matter what. Some days they feel tired, but they go anyway. Some days they feel busy, but they make time. Even if they don't feel motivated, they still show up. Over months. This discipline builds strength, fitness, and results. Discipline is what separates those who quit from those who succeed. Discipline is not about doing huge things. It is about showing up again and again. When you rely on discipline, you no longer ask, "Do I feel like it?" You simply do it. This is freedom. Most people think discipline feels like a prison, but the opposite is true. Discipline frees you from being controlled by your emotions. When you are disciplined, you do not need to fight with yourself every day. You already know what to do. Here's an example. Imagine 2 writers. The first waits for inspiration. They only write when they feel motivated. Some weeks they write, other weeks they don't. Months go by, and they still don't finish their book. The second writer creates a discipline. Write 1 page every day, no matter what. Some days they feel inspired and write more. Other days they struggle, but they still complete a page. After a year, the disciplined writer has a finished book. The motivated writer has only ideas. This is the power of discipline over motivation. Another way to think about this is the difference between amateurs and professionals. Amateurs wait for motivation. Professionals rely on discipline. A professional athlete does not say, "I'll train only when I feel like it." They train every day because their career depends on it. A professional musician does not practice only when they are inspired. They practice daily to stay sharp. If you want to be consistent, you must treat your goals like a professional, not like an amateur. But how do you build discipline? The answer is simple: repetition. The more you repeat an action, the less effort it takes. At first, discipline feels heavy. It feels uncomfortable, but over time, it becomes natural. Think about waking up early. At first, it feels difficult. Your body resists, but if you push yourself for a few weeks, it becomes a routine. Soon, waking up early becomes part of who you are. This is the secret. Discipline is built by doing the thing, even when you don't feel like it, until it becomes automatic. Another important truth is that discipline grows when you make promises to yourself and keep them. Each time you keep a promise, your self-respect grows. Each time you break a promise, your self-respect weakens. For example, if you tell yourself you will exercise today and you do it, you feel stronger inside. But if you skip it, you feel weaker, and it becomes harder to trust yourself. Discipline is about keeping your word to yourself. This is how you build inner strength. Many people believe discipline is about being strict and harsh, but discipline is not punishment. Discipline is a form of self-love. It means you care about your future enough to do what is necessary today. Think of a parent teaching a child to study. The parent says, "Do your homework now, so you have a better future later." That is love, not punishment. Discipline is the same. When you push yourself to act today, even when it is uncomfortable, you are loving your future self. Motivation often comes and goes, but discipline can create motivation. How? When you act with discipline, you create results. Results create pride. Pride creates motivation. For example, if you force yourself to work out for a week, you start to see changes in your body. That makes you feel motivated to continue. Discipline comes first. Motivation follows. This is the opposite of what most people think. They wait for motivation to create action. In reality, action creates motivation. There will always be days when you do not feel like it. Everyone faces this. The difference between winners and losers is not feelings, but actions. Winners act regardless of how they feel. Losers wait until they feel good. If you want to be consistent, you must learn to act without permission from your feelings. Think about soldiers. They do not ask, "Am I motivated today?" They follow orders. Their discipline keeps them alive. In life, you must give yourself orders. You must become both the commander and the soldier. Your mind may resist, but your discipline must win. This is how you grow stronger. One powerful way to build discipline is to start small. Do not try to change everything overnight. Begin with one small habit and commit to it daily. Once it becomes automatic, add another. Over time, your discipline muscle grows stronger. Just like lifting weights, the more you practice discipline, the more powerful it becomes. Another key is to create systems, not just goals. A goal says, "I want to lose 10 pounds. A system says, "I will walk 30 minutes every day." A goal says, "I want to write a book." A system says, "I will write 1 page a day." Systems are about discipline. They focus on daily actions you control. Goals are important, but without systems they are only dreams. Discipline turns dreams into reality. At times, discipline will feel boring. It will feel repetitive. But this is the hidden advantage. Boring discipline creates extraordinary results. Anyone can be motivated when things are exciting. Very few can stay disciplined when things feel ordinary, but if you embrace the boredom, you will rise above the rest. The ability to repeat simple actions daily is the foundation of all greatness. Motivation makes you talk. Discipline makes you act. Motivation makes promises. Discipline delivers results. This is why discipline will always beat motivation. If you want to force yourself to be consistent, stop chasing feelings and start building systems. Stop waiting for the right mood and start acting with discipline. In the end, you must choose who you want to be. Do you want to be someone who acts only when they feel good, or someone who acts no matter what? Do you want to be someone controlled by emotions, or someone guided by discipline? The answer will decide your future. Remember this truth: consistency is not about how motivated you are. It is about how disciplined you are. If you can master discipline, you can master life. Chapter 7: The Power of Small Wins. Consistency does not come from doing something huge once in a while. Consistency comes from doing small things every single day. Many people believe they need to make a big change in order to improve their lives. They think they need to work 12 hours a day, or run 10 miles at once, or read an entire book in one sitting. But this thinking creates pressure, and pressure often leads to failure. You don't need to do something massive to create progress. You need small wins. Small wins are actions that feel almost too easy, yet they build momentum. Imagine trying to push a heavy car. At first, the car doesn't move. You push and push, but it feels stuck. Then it moves just a little. That little movement makes it easier to push more. Soon, the car is rolling. That first small movement is the small win. It doesn't look like much, but it creates momentum that changes everything. The problem with most people is that they want instant results. They want to see transformation overnight. They go to the gym once and expect to look different. They read one chapter of a book and expect to feel smarter. When results don't come quickly, they quit. But those who understand the power of small wins know that change is not about speed, it is about direction. A 1% improvement every day might not seem like much, but over a year, it creates massive growth. Think about compound interest in money. If you invest a small amount regularly, it grows into something huge over time. The same law applies to your habits. A small action, repeated daily, compounds into incredible results. This is why small wins matter. They look small, but they are powerful when added together. Let's imagine two people starting to learn a language. The first person tries to study for 3 hours every Sunday. They sit down, they study hard, but then they forget during the week. The second person studies just 15 minutes a day. Day by day, the second person makes progress. After 6 months, the first person has studied maybe 72 hours total. The second person has studied more than 180 hours, who learned more. The one who focused on small daily wins. Consistency is not about intensity. It is about frequency. Doing something small every day beats doing something big once in a while. That is how you force yourself to be consistent. When you lower the barrier to action, you make it easier to start. And starting is the hardest part. Once you start, momentum carries you forward. Here's an example you can relate to. Imagine you want to build the habit of reading. If you tell yourself, I must read for 1 hour every day, it feels heavy. You resist. Some days you might not have an hour, so you skip it. But what if you tell yourself, I will read 1 page every day? 1 page feels easy. You can always do it. And often, once you start reading 1 page, you read more. But even if you don't, you've still kept the habit alive. Over time, that habit grows stronger. That is the power of small wins. Another example is fitness. If you want to get in shape, don't promise yourself that you'll work out for 2 hours daily. That's not realistic for most people. Instead, start small. Do 10 push-ups every morning. Go for a short walk. Stretch for 5 minutes. These small wins may not look like much on day one, but after weeks and months, they add up. The person who does small daily actions will always outperform the person who does massive workouts for only a week and then quits. The reason small wins work so well is psychological. Your brain loves success. Every time you complete a small action, you feel a sense of achievement. That feeling releases dopamine, the brain's reward chemical, that makes you want to repeat the behavior. Over time, this creates a loop. Small action, small reward, repeated consistently. This is how habits are formed. But here is the trick. The win must be so small that you cannot fail. If you set the bar too high, you create resistance. If you set the bar low, you reduce resistance. For example, if you tell yourself to meditate for 20 minutes, it might feel difficult, but if you tell yourself to meditate for 2 minutes, it feels simple. And often after starting, you will naturally continue longer. This is the secret of consistency. Make the habit so easy that you can't say no. Think of small wins as building blocks. Each one may look tiny, but together they create a strong structure. A skyscraper is built brick by brick. A marathon is completed step by step. A book is written word by word. Every great achievement is nothing more than the result of countless small wins. Some people may say, but small wins are too slow. That is only true if you look at today. But if you zoom out and look at a year or 5 years, you will see the truth. Small wins are not slow. They are unstoppable. Imagine a person who writes just 300 words a day. That is less than 1 page. In 1 year, they will have written more than 100,000 words. That is a book. One small win a day can change your entire life. Another important thing about small wins is that they protect your identity. When you achieve small wins consistently, you begin to see yourself differently. If you write 1 page a day, soon you see yourself as a writer. If you exercise daily, even for 10 minutes, you see yourself as someone who is fit. Identity is powerful. Once you identify with the habit, it becomes easier to stay consistent. Small wins build identity, and identity fuels consistency. Many people quit because they aim too high, too fast. They want to be perfect, but perfection is the enemy of progress. Instead of being perfect, aim to be consistent. Small wins help you do this. They allow you to keep showing up, even on bad days. If you can't run 5 miles, you can still walk 1 mile. If you can't read a whole chapter, you can still read 1 page. If you can't meditate for 20 minutes, you can still sit quietly for 1. The small win keeps the streak alive. And the streak is more important than the size of the win. Imagine building a chain. Each day you add 1 link. Some links are big, some are small, but the chain grows. If you stop, the chain breaks. The goal is not to create a perfect chain. The goal is to never break it. That is what small wins help you do. They make sure the chain continues, no matter what. Another way to think about small wins is like climbing a mountain. If you look at the top, it feels impossible. You feel overwhelmed. But if you focus only on the next step, you can keep going. Every step is a small win, and step by step, you reach the top. Life works the same way. Focus on the next small step, not the giant mountain. Small wins also create resilience. When you focus only on big goals, failure feels devastating. But when you focus on small wins, failure is not the end. If you miss 1 workout, you can still win tomorrow. If you miss 1 day of reading, you can still win the next. Small wins teach you that progress is not about perfection. It is about persistence. Consistency is like water dripping on a stone. 1 drop does nothing, but over years, the drops carve the stone. That is the power of small, consistent action. It may look weak in the short term, but it is unstoppable in the long term. So, how do you apply the power of small wins? Start by choosing 1 area of your life. Make the action so small that it feels almost silly. Then commit to it daily. Don't worry about speed. Don't worry about perfection. Just keep the chain alive. Over time, those small wins will transform your life. Remember this truth. Success is not built in one day. It is built every day. Your life is shaped not by what you do once in a while, but by what you do consistently. Small wins are the foundation. They are the secret weapon of consistency. They may be small, but they change everything. In the end, forcing yourself to be consistent is not about pushing yourself harder. It is about making it easier to keep going. Small wins make it easy. Small wins keep the streak alive. Small wins build momentum, and momentum builds greatness. So do not underestimate the power of small wins. They are the seeds of your future. Plant them daily and watch your life transform. Chapter 8. Environment shapes consistency. Consistency does not happen in isolation. Many people believe they can force themselves to stay disciplined only through willpower. They think they just need to be stronger, to push harder, to resist more. But willpower is like a battery. It runs out. You can rely on it for a short time, but eventually it drains. What truly makes consistency possible is not just willpower, but the environment you live in. Your surroundings, your routines, the people around you, and even the objects you see every day all shape your behavior. Think about it. If you are trying to eat healthy but your kitchen is full of chips, cookies, and soda, how long will your discipline last? You may resist for a day, maybe a week, but eventually you will give in. The environment is too powerful. On the other hand, if your fridge is filled with fruits, vegetables, and clean food, you don't have to resist. You don't have to fight temptation, because the temptation isn't there. The environment works for you instead of against you. The same is true for habits like reading, exercising, or working on a project. If your phone is always buzzing with notifications, how can you expect to focus? If your desk is messy and full of distractions, how can you expect to work with clarity? If your friends spend all day gossiping, drinking, or wasting time, how can you expect to grow? Your environment silently controls your actions. It shapes your choices without you even realizing it. There is a saying, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Systems are nothing more than the structures you build around you, the environment, the routines, the cues. If you design your environment well, consistency becomes natural. If you design it poorly, consistency becomes almost impossible. Let's take the example of someone who wants to build the habit of writing every day. If their desk is full of clutter, if their computer is full of distractions, if they try to write in a noisy place, it will be hard to stay consistent. But if they prepare a clean desk, keep a notebook nearby, and remove distractions, writing becomes easier. They don't need to fight as hard because the environment is working in their favor. The same principle works for exercise. If you want to be consistent with working out, make it easy. Keep your workout clothes ready. Put your shoes by the door. Create a space in your home for exercise. If the gym is far away and you need to prepare too much, your mind will make excuses. But if you reduce the friction, if you make it simple, you are more likely to stay consistent. This is why successful people don't just rely on motivation. They design their lives in a way that makes good habits easy and bad habits hard. They understand that the environment is stronger than willpower. For example, someone who wants to stop wasting time on social media might delete the apps from their phone. At first, it feels uncomfortable, but soon they realize how much more consistent they become with other goals. The environment made the choice easier. There's also the social environment to think about. You become like the people you spend the most time with. If you surround yourself with people who are lazy, negative, and inconsistent, you will slowly become the same. But if you surround yourself with people who are driven, disciplined, and focused, you will naturally rise to their level. Human beings are wired to fit into their tribe. If your tribe values consistency, you will too. Think about athletes. Why do they train in groups? Because the environment of a team pushes them forward. Even if one player feels tired, the energy of the group keeps them going. The same happens in your life. If your friends are working hard, if your family supports your growth, you will find it easier to be consistent. If not, you will feel like you are fighting alone. Another powerful part of environment is cues. A cue is a signal that triggers your behavior. If your guitar is always hidden in a closet, you won't practice. But if it's sitting in your living room, you'll pick it up more often. If a book is on your bedside table, you'll read before bed. If your running shoes are visible, you'll be reminded to run. Your environment sends signals to your brain. By controlling those signals, you can control your consistency. One of the best strategies for building consistency is to design what is called a frictionless environment. That means you make the good habits easier and the bad habits harder. For example, if you want to eat healthier, cut fruits and keep them ready to eat. If you want to stop wasting time watching TV, remove the batteries from the remote or unplug the TV after use. If you want to study more, keep your study materials open on your desk. Each small change reduces friction. And less friction means greater consistency. On the other hand, you should increase friction for bad habits. If you want to stop checking social media, log out of your accounts every time. If you want to stop drinking soda, don't buy it in the first place. If you want to stop oversleeping, put your alarm clock across the room so you have to get up to turn it off. By making the bad habit harder, you protect yourself from inconsistency. There is also the environment of time. Many people think they don't have enough time to be consistent, but the truth is, they waste time in the wrong environment. They scroll endlessly on their phones. They watch TV. They talk without purpose. If you control when and where you spend your time, you create an environment that allows you to be consistent. For example, if you set aside the first hour of your day for your most important habit, you build consistency before distractions appear. The more you design your environment, the less you need to rely on willpower. Imagine trying to swim against a strong current. That is what happens when your environment works against you. Now imagine swimming with the current. That is what happens when your environment supports you. The same effort produces 10 times more results. This is why some people seem naturally consistent. It's not that they are stronger or smarter. It's that they live in an environment designed for success. Their surroundings push them toward their goals instead of pulling them away. You can create this too. You just need to take control of your environment. Start small. Look at your physical space. Is it clean or is it messy? Does it invite focus or does it invite distraction? Then look at your digital space. Are your devices filled with distractions or are they designed for productivity? Then look at your social space. Are the people around you helping you grow or are they holding you back? Each of these environments shapes your behavior. Each of them affects your consistency. If you want to force yourself to be consistent, don't just push harder. Don't just try to motivate yourself again and again. Instead, step back and ask, what in my environment is making this harder? And what changes can I make to make it easier? This simple shift will transform your life. Remember, willpower is weak, but environment is strong. If you design your environment well, you won't need to force yourself every day. The environment will do the work for you. You will wake up and find it easier to make the right choice. That is the secret of long-term consistency. In the end, discipline is not about fighting harder. It is about making it easier to do the right thing. And nothing makes it easier than the environment you live in. Build an environment that supports your goals, and consistency will follow naturally. Chapter 9: Discipline over Motivation. Many people wait for motivation before they act. They wait to feel inspired, to feel ready, to feel excited. They tell themselves, I will start when I feel motivated. But that is why they fail. Motivation is like the weather. Sometimes it is sunny, sometimes it rains, sometimes it storms. You cannot control it. You cannot depend on it. If you wait for motivation, you will waste your life waiting. The truth is simple. Success belongs not to the motivated, but to the disciplined. Discipline is different. Discipline is doing what you need to do, even when you don't feel like it. It is waking up early, even when you are tired. It is going to the gym, even when your body wants to stay in bed. It is writing the page, even when your mind is empty. Discipline does not care about feelings. Discipline is action in the absence of motivation. Think of an athlete. Do you believe every champion wakes up every day feeling motivated to train? Of course not. They are human. They have bad days. They feel lazy. They get tired. But they train anyway. That is why they are champions. They rely on discipline, not motivation. Motivation is a spark. It can start a fire, but it cannot keep the fire burning. Discipline is the fuel. It is what keeps the fire alive, long after the spark is gone. If you build your life on motivation, you will keep stopping and starting. But if you build your life on discipline, you will keep going no matter what. This is why discipline is more reliable. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is logical. Motivation asks, do I feel like it? Discipline answers, it doesn't matter how I feel. I will do it anyway. This shift in thinking is what separates those who succeed from those who quit. Think about school. Every student feels motivated at the beginning of the year. They buy new books, new supplies. They promise themselves they will study hard. But after a few weeks, the motivation disappears. Some students quit. They stop trying. Others keep going. Why? Because they rely on discipline, not motivation. They study even when they don't want to. And in the end, they achieve more. The same is true in business. Entrepreneurs often start with excitement. They have an idea, a dream, a vision. Motivation is high, but soon they face problems, failures, setbacks. The motivation fades. The ones who give up never succeed. The ones who stay disciplined keep building, keep trying, keep learning. That discipline is what separates successful entrepreneurs from the rest. Discipline also builds trust with yourself. When you are motivated, you make promises. You say, tomorrow I will wake up early. Tomorrow I will exercise. Tomorrow I will work on my goals. But when the motivation is gone, you break those promises. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you lose trust. You stop believing in yourself. But discipline is different. Discipline keeps the promise, even when it's hard. Every time you act with discipline, you prove to yourself that you can be trusted. That trust builds confidence. Another truth about discipline is that it grows stronger the more you use it. At first it feels hard, forcing yourself out of bed, forcing yourself to study, forcing yourself to work. It feels heavy, but like a muscle, the more you train it, the stronger it becomes. Over time, discipline becomes natural. What was once hard becomes normal. Some people think discipline is punishment. They see it as something strict, something negative. But in reality, discipline is freedom. Without discipline, you are a slave to your feelings. You only act when you feel like it. But with discipline, you are free. You are free from laziness, free from regret, free from inconsistency. Discipline gives you control over your life. Let's imagine two people. The first one relies on motivation. When they feel motivated, they work hard. When they don't, they do nothing. Their life is full of highs and lows, bursts of energy followed by long periods of nothing. The second person relies on discipline. They show up every day, no matter how they feel. Their life is steady. Slowly but surely, they make progress. After a year, who is ahead? Not the motivated one, but the disciplined one. This is why discipline beats motivation every single time. It doesn't mean motivation is useless. Motivation can be helpful to start. It can give you energy, but it is not enough. Motivation is temporary. Discipline is permanent. If you want consistency, you must learn to act without waiting for motivation. One powerful way to build discipline is through routines. When you create a routine, you remove the need for motivation. You don't ask yourself, do I feel like doing this? You just do it, because it's part of your routine. For example, if you decide to exercise every morning at the same time, soon it becomes automatic. You no longer need to think about it, you simply follow the routine. This is how discipline becomes effortless. Another way to strengthen discipline is to lower the friction to start. Many times the hardest part is beginning. If you make the first step easy, discipline takes over. For example, if you want to read every day, keep a book on your desk. If you want to exercise, prepare your clothes the night before. If you want to write, keep your notebook open. Once you start, discipline helps you continue. The key idea is simple. Stop waiting for motivation. Stop saying, I'll start when I feel ready. You will never feel ready. Instead, act now. Let discipline lead the way. The more you practice discipline, the more consistent you become. In the end, life rewards those who act, not those who wait. Motivation will come and go, but discipline will carry you to success. If you want to force yourself to be consistent, remember this truth. Motivation is a visitor, but discipline is a permanent resident. Build discipline, and you will never again be at the mercy of your emotions. Chapter 9: Discipline over Motivation. Most people wait for motivation before they take action. They say things like, I'll start when I feel ready, or I just need some inspiration. But here's the problem. Motivation is temporary. It comes and goes like the weather. One day you feel unstoppable, the next day you feel empty. If you build your life on motivation, you will never be consistent. Discipline, on the other hand, is different. Discipline is doing what you need to do, even when you don't feel like it. It's waking up early when the alarm rings, even though you are tired. It's going to the gym, even when your body is heavy. It's writing the page, finishing the project, keeping the promise, no matter how you feel. Think about great athletes. Do you really believe they wake up every day excited to train? Of course not. They are human, just like you. They get tired. They feel lazy, but they train anyway. That's why they win. They don't depend on motivation. They depend on discipline. Motivation is a spark. It can start a fire, but it cannot keep the fire burning. Discipline is the fuel. Discipline keeps the fire alive long after motivation is gone. If you want to be consistent, you must learn to rely on discipline, not on feelings. When you act only when you're motivated, you send yourself a dangerous message: my emotions control me. But when you act with discipline, you send yourself a powerful message: I control my actions, no matter how I feel. That is strength. That is freedom. Discipline builds trust with yourself. Every time you keep a promise, you prove to yourself that you are reliable. Every time you skip because you didn't feel like it, you break that trust. Which version of you do you want to become? The one who quits when motivation disappears, or the one who acts no matter what? The truth is simple. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is logical. Motivation asks, do I feel like it? Discipline answers, it doesn't matter. I'll do it anyway. If you want to force yourself to be consistent, stop waiting for motivation. Build routines. Lower the friction to start. And most importantly, decide once that discipline, not emotions, will guide your life. Motivation is a visitor. Discipline is permanent. Build discipline and you will always win. Chapter 10: Tracking Progress and Measuring Growth. Consistency is important, but it is not enough to simply show up. You also need to know if your actions are creating results. Tracking your progress and measuring your growth is what separates those who remain stagnant from those who continually improve. Without tracking, you are like a ship sailing without a compass. You move, you try, you put in effort, but you don't know if you are heading in the right direction. Tracking gives you clarity. It shows you what works, what doesn't, and where to focus your energy. Many people avoid tracking progress because it feels like work. They think, I just want to do the work. I don't need charts or notes. But tracking is not extra work. It is the fuel that makes your consistency effective. When you see your progress, no matter how small, it motivates you to keep going. It transforms abstract effort into tangible results. One of the most powerful ways to track progress is through journals. Writing down what you did each day may seem simple, but it has immense value. When you reflect on your actions, you begin to notice patterns. You see where you excel, where you struggle, and how small adjustments can create better results. Journaling is like holding a mirror to your efforts. You can't hide from yourself, and that honesty is essential for growth. Another method is using measurable goals. For example, if you want to exercise more, track your steps, your reps, or the time you spend working out. If you are learning a new skill, track the hours you dedicate to practice. If you are building a business, track the leads, sales, or conversions. Numbers are powerful because they remove ambiguity. You no longer guess whether you are making progress. You know. Tracking progress also helps you identify obstacles. When you review your actions, you can see what is holding you back. Maybe you consistently miss workouts on Wednesdays. Why? Perhaps you have a habit or schedule conflict that you weren't aware of. By tracking, you uncover these hidden barriers. Once you identify them, you can take corrective action. Consistency without feedback can lead to frustration. You may show up every day, put in effort and feel proud, but if your methods are flawed, your results will be limited. Tracking creates a feedback loop. You act, observe the outcome, adjust, and repeat. Over time, this loop leads to mastery. The most successful people in any field are not just disciplined, they are also deliberate. They know what works because they measure it. Another key aspect of tracking is celebrating small wins. Humans are wired to respond to achievement. When you notice that you have improved, even slightly, it reinforces the behavior. This is why daily tracking is so powerful. It allows you to see progress in real time, not just after months or years. Each small win is a building block of confidence and momentum. Consistency also teaches patience. Not every action produces immediate results. Growth often happens quietly, behind the scenes. Tracking your progress helps you see these subtle changes. You realize that the effort is not wasted, even if the results are delayed. For example, a student practicing vocabulary daily may not see instant fluency, but after months of consistent effort, mastery becomes visible. Tracking bridges the gap between effort and reward. It's also important to use both qualitative and quantitative tracking. Numbers are essential, but feelings, thoughts, and personal reflections matter too. Did you feel more focused today? Did your energy improve? Did your mindset shift slightly? Recording these observations creates a complete picture of your growth. Life is not just about numbers, it is also about how you evolve as a person. Tracking does not have to be complicated. It can be as simple as a checklist, a journal entry, or a digital app. The key is consistency in tracking. Just like consistency in action creates results, consistency in measurement ensures progress. Without measurement, you cannot fine-tune your approach. You may be consistent, but consistency alone is not enough. You need to know if your efforts are leading you toward your goals. Reflection is another critical part of tracking. At the end of each week or month, take a moment to review your actions. Ask yourself, what went well? What could I do better? What patterns emerged? Reflection turns raw data into insights. Insights turn insights into smarter decisions. Smarter decisions lead to faster progress. Without reflection, tracking is just a record. It does not create growth. Finally, tracking progress builds accountability. When you record your actions and review them, you hold yourself responsible. You can no longer hide behind excuses. Every day, you see the truth of your effort. And when you combine accountability with consistency, incredible things happen. You create a system where showing up is not optional. It is non-negotiable. Remember, consistency is the foundation, but tracking is the compass. Without the compass, your efforts may wander. With the compass, every small action is aligned with your destination. You are not just busy, you are productive. You are not just consistent, you are strategic. And that is how ordinary effort turns into extraordinary results. Chapter 11. Overcoming setbacks and staying on track. Consistency is not a straight road. It is full of curves, bumps, and obstacles. Anyone who tells you that success comes without setbacks is lying. Everyone faces challenges, distractions, and failures. The difference between those who succeed and those who quit is how they respond to these setbacks. Learning to overcome setbacks is the secret to staying consistent. Setbacks are inevitable. You will have days when you miss a workout, skip a study session, or procrastinate on an important project. You will have moments when life interferes and your routine is disrupted. The question is not whether setbacks will happen. The question is how you respond. Some people use setbacks as an excuse to quit. Others use them as fuel to grow stronger. The first step in overcoming setbacks is acceptance. Understand that setbacks are part of the process. They are not a sign that you are failing. They are simply feedback. When you accept this, you remove the emotional weight of disappointment. You stop beating yourself up, and you start looking for solutions. Next, analyze the setback. Ask yourself, what caused this? Was it lack of planning, distractions, fatigue? Identifying the root cause is critical. Without understanding why the setback happened, you are likely to repeat it. Every setback contains valuable information about your habits, environment, and mindset. Learn from it. Use it to adjust your approach. Another important strategy is to keep the bigger picture in mind. One missed day or one failed attempt does not define you. Consistency is about long-term effort, not perfection. Think about a marathon runner. Missing a single training session will not ruin the entire race. What matters is showing up day after day, week after week. The same principle applies to every area of life. Resilience is the ability to bounce back. It is one of the most important traits for anyone seeking consistency. Resilient people understand that failure is temporary. They do not let one setback destroy their momentum. Instead, they use it as motivation to continue. They develop a mindset that says, I may have fallen, but I will get up. Visualization is another powerful tool. When setbacks occur, visualize yourself getting back on track. Imagine yourself completing the task you missed, feeling the sense of accomplishment, and continuing your streak. This mental rehearsal strengthens your commitment and helps you overcome discouragement. It's also important to have a support system. When you face setbacks, talking to someone who understands your goals can make a huge difference. A mentor, friend, or accountability partner can help you see the bigger picture and encourage you to keep going. You don't have to face challenges alone. Consistency is easier when you have support. Self-compassion is another key factor. Many people quit because they are too harsh on themselves. They see one failure and think they are worthless. But setbacks are human. Treat yourself with the same kindness you would give to a friend. Acknowledge the mistake, learn from it, and move forward. Self-compassion fuels persistence, while self-criticism destroys it. Another strategy is to break down tasks into smaller steps. Large goals can feel overwhelming, and setbacks often occur when the task seems impossible. By breaking goals into manageable steps, you make it easier to resume after a setback. Small, achievable actions rebuild momentum quickly. Remember, consistency is a long-term game. It is not about avoiding mistakes. It is about continuing despite mistakes. Every setback is an opportunity to strengthen your habits. Every failure teaches you something valuable. The people who stay consistent are those who understand that progress is not linear. Creating a system for recovery is also helpful. Decide in advance how you will handle setbacks. For example, if you miss a workout, have a plan to make it up the next day. If you skip a study session, schedule a brief catch-up session immediately. Systems like these prevent small failures from turning into long-term habits of quitting. Finally, maintain perspective. Life is full of ups and downs. One setback does not erase your progress. One failure does not define your identity. Consistency is about showing up again and again, even when things get tough. It is about commitment, patience, and persistence. The truth is, setbacks are inevitable, but they are not the end. They are part of the journey. By learning to overcome them, you build resilience, strengthen habits, and create a foundation for long-term success. The more setbacks you navigate, the stronger your consistency becomes. The more you persist, the closer you get to your goals. In the end, consistency is not about perfection. It is about showing up, learning from mistakes, and never giving up. Setbacks are merely stepping stones on the path to mastery. When you embrace them, you become unstoppable. Chapter 12. The Power of Small Habits. Consistency is not built overnight. It is not the result of one huge effort or a single burst of motivation. It is built through small, repeated actions. Small habits are the building blocks of big results. They may seem insignificant at first, but over time, they accumulate into massive change. Understanding the power of small habits is essential if you want to force yourself to be consistent. Many people ignore small habits because they appear trivial. They think, skipping this one workout won't matter, or missing today's study session is no big deal. But the truth is, consistency is made up of these small choices. Every time you show up, every time you act despite resistance, you are strengthening your discipline and moving closer to your goals. Small habits work because they are easy to maintain. Large, drastic changes are intimidating. They require enormous effort and willpower, which are both limited. But a small habit, like writing one paragraph a day, taking a 5-minute walk, or reading a single page, is manageable. It is simple enough to do even on your worst days, yet powerful enough to make a difference over time. The key is compounding. Just like money grows through compound interest, small habits grow through repeated practice. Writing one paragraph daily may not seem like much today, but after a year, you will have written hundreds of pages. Walking 5 minutes each day may seem minor, but over months it transforms your health and stamina. Compounding turns small, consistent actions into extraordinary results. Another advantage of small habits is that they reduce resistance. Human nature resists change, especially dramatic change. When you start with small, manageable steps, you bypass this resistance. Your brain does not see the small habit as a huge threat. Instead, it becomes part of your routine. Over time, your brain adapts, and the habit becomes automatic. Small habits also create momentum. Momentum is the feeling of progress that makes further action easier. When you accomplish a small habit, you feel a sense of achievement. That feeling motivates you to continue. It creates a positive feedback loop. The more you act, the more motivated you feel, and the easier it becomes to maintain consistency. Let's look at an example. Imagine someone who wants to improve their fitness. Jumping into an hour-long workout every day is daunting, but starting with 10 push-ups, 5 minutes of jogging, or a short stretch routine is achievable. Once the habit is established, it naturally grows. 10 push-ups become 20, 5 minutes of jogging becomes 15, short stretches turn into full workouts. The small habit is the seed that grows into a larger, sustainable routine. Small habits are also forgiving. Everyone misses a day occasionally. Big, ambitious goals can be discouraging when you slip, but small habits are easier to recover from. Missing one day of reading a single page does not ruin your progress. You simply resume the habit the next day, and momentum continues. This flexibility ensures long-term consistency. Another critical aspect of small habits is that they build identity. Every time you act, you reinforce who you are. Performing a small habit consistently makes it part of your identity. If you write daily, you start to see yourself as a writer. If you exercise daily, you start to see yourself as an active, healthy person. Identity is a powerful motivator because your actions become aligned with how you see yourself. Small habits also make it easier to track progress. Large goals can feel abstract and overwhelming, but small habits provide tangible milestones. You can see if you completed your habit today, if you did it yesterday, and if you are building a streak. Tracking small habits keeps you accountable and reinforces consistency. Consistency is the real key. It is better to do a small habit every day than a large effort sporadically. A single 2-hour workout once a week is less effective than 10 minutes of exercise daily. A single all-nighter of study will not create mastery. Small daily actions build momentum and skill far more effectively than sporadic bursts of effort. Small habits also reduce decision fatigue. When your habits are manageable and routine, you spend less mental energy deciding what to do. You don't need motivation to start. It becomes automatic. By reducing the mental burden, you free up energy to focus on more complex tasks while maintaining consistency. Over time, small habits compound into profound changes. Reading 1 page per day may seem trivial, but after a year, you could finish dozens of books. Saving a small amount of money each day may seem insignificant, but in a decade you could accumulate substantial wealth. Consistency magnifies small actions into life-changing results. Finally, small habits teach patience and persistence. They remind you that real growth is gradual. Success is not about giant leaps. It is about the tiny steps taken consistently. Each small habit strengthens your discipline, reinforces your identity, and adds up to meaningful outcomes. The lesson is clear. Focus on small, actionable habits. Make them simple, make them consistent, and trust the process. Over time, these tiny actions will compound into extraordinary results. If you can master the power of small habits, consistency will become easier, and success will become inevitable. Chapter 13: Managing Distractions and Staying Focused. Consistency is impossible without focus. You can have the best routines, the strongest habits, and the most discipline, but if your attention is constantly pulled in different directions, progress will stall. Distractions are everywhere. Notifications, social media, emails, interruptions, even your own wandering thoughts. These are the enemies of consistency. Learning to manage distractions and maintain focus is essential if you want to force yourself to be consistent. The first step in managing distractions is awareness. Most people are not even aware of how much their attention is being diverted. They check their phone without thinking, scroll through feeds, or drift from task to task. Awareness means noticing when your focus is breaking and understanding what triggers it. Only then can you take action to reduce it. Next, create an environment that supports focus. Your surroundings play a huge role in your ability to concentrate. If your workspace is messy, cluttered, or full of interruptions, it will be harder to stay consistent. A clean, organized space signals your brain that it's time to work. Remove unnecessary objects, silence notifications, and set boundaries with people around you. Your environment should make consistency easier, not harder. Another strategy is to schedule focused work periods. This could be blocks of time ranging from 30 minutes to a few hours where you dedicate yourself fully to one task. During this period, eliminate all potential distractions. No phone, no emails, no social media, just focused work. Over time, your brain will adapt to these periods, and focus will become easier to achieve. The practice of single tasking is crucial. Many people try to multitask, believing they are being more productive. In reality, multitasking reduces efficiency and consistency. Your attention becomes divided, mistakes increase, and it takes longer to complete tasks. By focusing on one task at a time, you not only complete it faster, but you also improve the quality of your work. Single tasking trains your mind to concentrate, which strengthens your ability to stay consistent. Setting clear goals also helps maintain focus. When you know exactly what you need to achieve, it is easier to resist distractions. Vague intentions lead to wasted energy and fragmented attention. Write down your goals, break them into smaller tasks, and focus on completing them one by one. Clarity gives purpose to your actions and makes consistency easier. It is also important to manage internal distractions. Your mind is constantly generating thoughts, doubts, and worries. If you allow these mental interruptions to control your actions, your focus will suffer. Mindfulness and meditation are effective tools for training your mind. They help you observe your thoughts without reacting and refocus on the task at hand. Even a few minutes a day can significantly improve your ability to concentrate. Prioritize tasks based on importance, not urgency. Many distractions come disguised as urgent tasks. Emails, messages, and minor requests demand your attention, but they may not contribute meaningfully to your goals. Learn to differentiate between what is truly important and what is merely urgent. Focus your energy on tasks that align with your long-term objectives. This prioritization protects your consistency from being hijacked by trivial matters. Technology is both a tool and a distraction. Use it wisely. Productivity apps, timers, and planners can enhance focus, but notifications, social media, and endless alerts destroy it. Set boundaries for technology use. Turn off non-essential notifications, use apps that block distractions, and schedule specific times for checking messages. Treat technology as an assistant, not an enemy. Another critical strategy is to set limits on interruptions. Let people know when you are unavailable, or create specific times to handle communication. Protect your focus like it is a valuable resource, because it is. Every time you allow an interruption, you reduce the quality of your work and weaken your consistency. Consistency also comes from understanding your own peak energy times. Notice when your mind is sharpest and when it is prone to fatigue. Schedule your most important and demanding tasks during your peak hours. Doing so ensures that your attention is at its maximum, which strengthens your ability to stay consistent. Finally, build resilience to distractions. Life will always present interruptions. A sudden emergency, a loud environment, or an unexpected challenge can break your focus. What matters is how quickly you recover. Train yourself to refocus immediately, without guilt or frustration. Each time you regain concentration, you reinforce the habit of consistency. The key is to remember that focus is a muscle. The more you practice, the stronger it becomes. Managing distractions, single tasking, scheduling, and mindfulness all contribute to building this muscle. Once focus becomes second nature, consistency becomes effortless. Your actions are no longer constantly derailed, and progress becomes inevitable. In the end, managing distractions is not about avoiding the world. It's about controlling your attention. Focus on what matters most. Protect your time and energy, and remain disciplined in your efforts. When you master your focus, you master your consistency. Chapter 14. Building long-term motivation through purpose. Consistency is easier when you know why you are doing what you do. Purpose is the underlying reason that drives you forward, even when motivation fades. Without purpose, consistency becomes mechanical, and it is easy to quit when challenges arise. But when your actions are tied to a meaningful purpose, they gain energy, direction, and resilience. Purpose is more than just a goal. Goals are specific targets you want to reach, like finishing a project, losing weight, or learning a skill. Purpose is why you pursue those goals. It is the bigger vision, the reason that gives your efforts significance. For example, losing weight is a goal, but the purpose might be to live a longer, healthier life for your family. Writing a book is a goal, but the purpose might be to inspire others or share knowledge. When purpose is clear, it acts as a compass. Challenges, distractions, and setbacks no longer derail you completely. Purpose reminds you that your effort matters. It shifts your mindset from short-term discomfort to long-term gain. When you feel tired, frustrated, or unmotivated, your purpose keeps you moving forward. It is the fuel that runs deeper than fleeting motivation. Discovering your purpose requires introspection. Ask yourself, what truly matters to me? What impact do I want to have in my life and in the lives of others? What legacy do I want to leave behind? These questions may take time to answer, but clarity brings focus. Purpose is not always obvious at first, but even a small understanding can provide a powerful foundation for consistency. Once your purpose is defined, connected to daily actions, every small task, every habit, and every effort should tie back to your purpose. This connection transforms mundane activities into meaningful work. Washing dishes, exercising, studying, or writing becomes more than chores. They become building blocks of your larger vision. Purpose gives your actions weight and significance. Purpose also strengthens resilience. When you face setbacks, the difference between those who quit and those who persist is often the clarity of purpose. Purpose creates internal motivation that cannot be taken away by failure or criticism. It is a guiding light during tough times. People who have a strong purpose recover faster from setbacks and maintain their consistency. It's also important to remind yourself of your purpose regularly. Write it down, visualize it, or speak it aloud. Daily reminders reinforce the meaning behind your actions and renew your commitment. Visualization can be particularly effective. Imagine the life you want, the person you aim to become, and the impact of your efforts. These mental images make your purpose tangible and actionable. Purpose fuels long-term motivation. Short-term motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. Purpose, however, is enduring. It provides direction when motivation is absent and discipline is tested. Think of purpose as the anchor that keeps your ship steady during storms. Without it, consistency is vulnerable to every distraction and setback. Another benefit of purpose is that it fosters alignment. When your actions align with your purpose, you spend less energy on decisions, doubts, and distractions. Every choice becomes simpler because you know what matters most. Alignment between actions and purpose creates efficiency and strengthens long-term consistency. Purpose also inspires creativity and problem-solving. When your goals are tied to something meaningful, you are more likely to find solutions when obstacles arise. You don't give up easily because the outcome is valuable. Challenges become opportunities to grow, adapt, and strengthen your approach. Purpose turns resistance into fuel. Building long-term motivation through purpose requires commitment. It is not enough to know your purpose once and forget about it. Life is dynamic, and priorities evolve. Periodically reassess your purpose, refine it, and ensure that it continues to inspire you. This ongoing process keeps your actions relevant and meaningful, and it sustains consistency over time. Finally, purpose provides satisfaction beyond achievements. When you reach a goal tied to purpose, the fulfillment is deeper. It is not just about checking off a task, it is about contributing to something meaningful. This fulfillment reinforces your identity and motivates you to continue pursuing excellence. Consistency driven by purpose is sustainable. You don't rely solely on fleeting motivation, external rewards, or pressure. Instead, your actions are guided by a deeper understanding of why you do what you do. Purpose transforms discipline from a chore into a commitment. It turns effort into meaning, and it ensures that your consistency is not just a habit, but a lifestyle. The key takeaway is simple: define your purpose, connect it to your daily actions, and let it guide you through challenges. Purpose is the backbone of long-term motivation. When you anchor your efforts to something meaningful, consistency becomes natural, effortless, and unstoppable. Chapter 15: Maintaining Consistency for a Lifetime. Consistency is not just about achieving short-term goals. True success comes from maintaining effort over months, years, and even decades. The ultimate challenge is to make consistency a permanent part of your life. This final chapter will guide you on how to turn the discipline you've cultivated into a lifelong habit. First, understand that consistency is a lifestyle, not a task. It is not something you turn on and off. It is a way of approaching life, where showing up, doing the work, and honoring your commitments becomes natural. When consistency is ingrained in your identity, it no longer relies solely on willpower or motivation. It becomes automatic, like brushing your teeth or getting dressed every morning. One of the keys to lifelong consistency is adaptability. Life changes. Your environment, responsibilities, and priorities will shift. You must be willing to adjust your routines while keeping your core habits intact. Flexibility does not mean abandoning consistency. It means finding new ways to maintain it in different circumstances. The most consistent people are not rigid. They evolve without losing focus. Another crucial factor is continuous learning. Lifelong consistency is not about mindless repetition. It is about improvement. Always seek to refine your habits, learn new skills, and grow in your understanding of yourself and your goals. The more you learn, the more effective your consistent actions become. Learning keeps your journey dynamic, interesting, and sustainable. Accountability is also essential. Even after years of disciplined practice, it is easy to fall into complacency. Surround yourself with people who support your goals and hold you accountable. Mentors, peers, or accountability partners can provide guidance, feedback, and motivation when your own drive wanes. Lifelong consistency thrives in a community of support. Reflection is another habit that sustains long-term consistency. Regularly review your progress, evaluate your routines, and adjust where necessary. Reflection ensures that your actions remain aligned with your purpose and goals. Without reflection, it is easy to drift, even if you maintain daily habits. Lifelong consistency is conscious consistency. Purpose remains the ultimate anchor. When your actions are tied to a meaningful reason, you are less likely to quit, even when life becomes challenging. Revisit your purpose often. Let it remind you why you began, what you are striving for, and what kind of life you want to create. Purpose is the fuel that powers consistency over the long haul. Small habits remain critical. Even after years of effort, the principle of incremental action continues to apply. Big achievements are rarely the result of sudden breakthroughs. They are the product of countless small, consistent actions compounded over time. Treat each day as an opportunity to reinforce your habits, no matter how small the action may seem. Handling setbacks is also part of lifelong consistency. There will be times when life disrupts your routine. You may face illness, financial difficulty, personal crises, or other obstacles. The difference between those who remain consistent and those who give up is their response to adversity. Use setbacks as learning experiences. Regain momentum quickly, and never allow temporary disruptions to become permanent habits of quitting. Motivation will fluctuate, but habits will carry you through. Relying solely on motivation is risky. It is fickle and inconsistent. Habits, once established, reduce the need for constant motivation. They make consistency easier because the action itself becomes automatic. Focus on building strong habits now so that later you can maintain consistency with less mental effort. Celebrate progress, but don't become complacent. Recognize milestones, reward yourself, and appreciate how far you've come. However, never let past successes make you lazy or overconfident. Lifelong consistency requires vigilance and humility. There is always room for improvement, always a next level to reach. Account for energy management. Physical and mental energy are essential for sustaining consistent effort. Maintain a balanced lifestyle with proper sleep, nutrition, exercise, and mental rest. Overworking yourself without replenishing energy leads to burnout, which undermines consistency. Protect your energy as fiercely as you protect your habits. Finally, embrace the identity of a consistent person. Let consistency define who you are. Say to yourself, I am someone who shows up every day. I am someone who honors my commitments. I am someone who takes action, no matter what. Identity-based consistency is the strongest form of consistency because it aligns actions with self-perception. When being consistent is part of who you are, quitting is not an option. Consistency is a journey, not a destination. It is about living intentionally, showing up for yourself, and honoring your goals day after day. Every choice, every habit, every action matters. By forcing yourself to be consistent, you are shaping your future, your character, and your life. In conclusion, maintaining consistency for a lifetime is possible. It requires adaptability, purpose, small habits, reflection, accountability, energy management, and a strong sense of identity. By applying these principles, you will not only achieve your goals, but also create a life of discipline, resilience, and extraordinary results. Consistency is the bridge between effort and mastery, and by crossing it every day, you ensure success that lasts a lifetime.